going to be a long meeting. I got 2 waters in end.
Then you're gonna have to take a break because you're gonna have to use the bathroom.
Yeah, I know. I got my Depends. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our regular council meeting for February 5th, 2024. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territories and the oral practices of the Blackfoot Nation, which include the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Piikani. We also acknowledge the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, the Métis Nation District 4, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. We're making this acknowledgement to demonstrate our continuing efforts to work together as we strive for reconciliation through increased and collective learning. First on the list here is a staff introduction. Lisa.
Lisa's first?
Yeah, you're doing the staff introduction.
Yeah, I'm happy to introduce Clarice De La Cruz. She's our newest Economic Development Officer focusing on workforce development. So Clarice comes to us with a bachelor's degree from the University of Calgary in political science, and she has experience working with the refugee settlement program here with UCIS and CCIS. And so far she has hit the ground running and is implementing our Rural Renewal Stream program. So that's the program that we have designation through the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program. So we're lucky to have her. Hopefully we haven't been too mean to her yet, but she's doing great work.
You have to work with Lisa there too, so welcome aboard there. Yeah. Okay, moved by Councillor Goodenough that the agenda be adopted. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Idris that the minutes from the regular council meeting held January 15th, 2022 be approved. Any errors or omissions? Approval on that. Everybody in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Jessica that the following items of correspondence be received as information updates on council conferences and or workshops, accounts payable listing, and council committee reports from Councillor Idris, Councillor Goodenough, and Councillor Prentice. And we'll start at the right there, Councillor Idris there.
Okay, thank you. Not a lot, just a few things. I'm going to start with the Chamber of Commerce. So many of you know that the Brooks Chamber of Commerce dissolved late last year, and the Medicine Hat Chamber of Commerce have submitted or have passed a resolution at the AGM, at their AGM in November, to become the Southern Alberta Chamber of Commerce. Since then, there was a number of different meetings in the community here. I think they became and they met with a number of different businesses in the community, and they are exploring different options in terms of trade shows and other events, and how can they bring back that support that the chamber can bring to the business community. I have had the opportunity to meet with them a couple of times. The mayor and I also have went to Medicine Hat and attended their State of the City event, and they came to our State of the Region event. Good, positive welcome, but also some concerns from the business community. I've talked with a number of businesses that are talking about, for example, things like what does it mean for competition and for market, and for things like, for example, if before I was competing with 2 similar businesses in Brooks, am I now competing with 15 similar businesses in the region? I think these are things that we need as people who are for the community here in Brooks. We need to talk to the business, try to bring a regional mentality, a regional collaborative mentality, but also the Chamber of Commerce need to come up with ideas and ways to engage with business in the community, and also find ways to deliver on the value that they can bring to the community. In terms of representation on the Chamber board, we have decided that Brooks will have a seat, a set seat that's always reserved for someone from the business community in Brooks. So we could do that through a local election between businesses who are in the community here to have that one seat. But also, beside that one seat, any chamber member can compete for any seat on their board. So we will have at least one seat, but there is a potential to have more than one seat from businesses in the community to have on the chamber board. After discussions with the Chamber of Commerce in Medicine Hat and their practices around elected officials on the chamber board, we have decided that maybe we will not have a chamber representative from council on the board, but that doesn't mean we don't have a liaison. For example, in Medicine Hat, they have a councillor from the Medicine Hat City Council who is the council's liaison with the chamber. So we will continue with the same model. And actually, as a best practice, it does make sense, because sometimes there will be an advocacy issue that the chamber is taking, and they will vote on that. So that councillor who is, if there is a councillor on the board, what would that mean in terms of voting on an advocacy issue that will come back to council to change some legislation? So does that vote really matter? That doesn't mean we can't go, for example, and sit on their policy committee where there is discussions around these issues and finding ways to solve these issues. That is the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm going to just jump from there to the BRZ. The BRZ is planning an AGM, I think, on February 28th, I believe. February 28th, there is an AGM. There is a big discussion in the board there now about engagement with businesses in the BRZ region, or the downtown, the Brooks downtown region. Technically, any business who is part of this geographical area or in this geographical area is a member of the BRZ or the Downtown Brooks Committee. But not every business is that engaged. So the co-chairs now and the board is really trying to push for more engagement from the businesses. They are holding the AGM in one of those businesses, and the idea is to invite people, maybe target specific people who are engaged in the business community in the downtown area, to be part of this, and then come up with a strategic plan or implement a strategic plan that will make the area in downtown more attractive, more friendly for people to come down and do something, whether it is murals or whether it is doing something with this area here. I think there is some discussion around that. The library, I now sit on the library board in the Shortgrass Library. Things are going good. One thing I just want to bring from that, there is, and I think I brought this last time, as per the regulations, because we are a city more than 10,000 population, our library has to have someone who has Masters in Library Information Systems, MLIS. So we are discussing at the board level the difficulties with that. So for example, there is what we decided to do this time, because we have to have someone, is to contract an on-demand person that lives in another community, 5 hours per week, I believe, because the requirement in the regulation is to have a person with that qualification. It doesn't matter whether that person is a head librarian or a full-time person or a part-time person or anything like that. So we are going to have that person. But the discussion we are having is, does this issue deserve maybe a resolution at the Alberta Municipalities Convention to change the regulations and ask for that regulation, for example, to go either for cities with 10,000, maybe to the cities with 20,000 or 30,000, because it is very difficult to find someone with that qualification that wants to have a full-time position here in Brooks. I think the last person we had a couple of years ago came, did a year or two, and then moved to a bigger library or something like that. So it's you bring someone, you train them, you build them, and then they move somewhere else. So I think we will have a discussion at the February board meeting and maybe we'll come back to council. I'll bring that idea to council to maybe submit a resolution to the convention to do a regulation change with that. Finally, the Safe Communities Committee, things are going good. I think nothing big to update from there. So that's it.
Okay, any questions? Okay, Councillor Prentice.
Yes, at new regional landfill. The new scales were put into operation on January the 5th, and they are working very good. And there's no backups waiting for get the trucks in and out. They go in on one scale, come back out another, so it's very quick. And there's still a little cleanup to be done in the spring since the project wasn't finished until this fall with the road work, but basically it's all working very well. And there was about 103 tons of contaminated soil that were taken in November and December. That's over double from what was the same time last year. So that contaminated soil is coming in very good still, and that's really good for our revenue sources. That's the big money maker. So it's still coming good. So that's really working very well with that new scales. It's in and out, and everybody's quite happy. And new regional water. The water consumption was up about 10% higher than 2022. The revenue was up a little bit, but the cost of water and the cost of chemicals and repairs that have been done on the plant this year goes quite a bit. So the profits end up being a little bit about the same as 2022. So there was it's going to end up about the same amount of cash flow, but the percentage is up quite a bit. And also when the water line went up, that's it. And anyway, also that's about all there was on that as far as upgrades. And as soon as the city will have to likely do something about looking at the water consumption if they have a thing out this summer again, because the water consumption went up quite high when they called for water restrictions. So I don't know how we're going to handle it, but something has to be done to be able to handle that. So whether it's policy, but I think we have to do it with everybody, like all the people that supply we get water to. So I think that's something that's got to be worked on fairly quick, because they're talking about restrictions and stuff possibly already for this next year from the EID. So other than that, that's about it.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, you're right about, I think a lot of other communities, and I think it's almost a provincial mandate now to kind of look at the water usage.
Yeah, it's quite serious, because every time you call for restrictions, it just seems like they go up crazy.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So any other questions for Councillor Prentice? Okay, Councillor Goodenough.
All right, well, a few things just to mention, just to pony off of Councillor Dries a bit through joint services with the chamber update. That's looking good. The transition's moving smoothly. They're going to be looking for a local manager here. I believe you did mention that, but just to reiterate that, which would be good. I wanted to mention the iCubed conference coming up April 18th and 19th. It's going to be an amazing entrepreneurs and businesses coming in from Alberta around to promote what we've got here, but to also innovate and to encourage new growth in for our area here with the county and the city. And MPC, talk about that. We did a training day. Bill and I was there, and Councillor Jessica. We did a day with that with Gavin. It was about a 2-hour training on just the ins and outs, and with having some new members joining that board, it was good to just get a refresher course and the do's and don'ts of MPC. But the big thing I wanted to talk about was the Silver Sage, one of the committees I'm on. It's a newer committee for us in the city. We had our AGM meeting the other day, or last month, and we elected some new members. There's 9 board members on there. Ken Neufeld is the president once again. We've been working for the last 3 weeks on strategic planning to take the Silver Sage pretty much to the 20th century, getting it updated, and what's our plan for the future. Also attended Alberta Assistance Agriculture Society's meeting in Edmonton this weekend, where we met with 9 different MLAs and different conferences talking about what's going on with the water, conservation programs that are happening, how to get funding for ag societies. We looked at how to have better engagement, that ag societies just aren't about, well, they are about agriculture, obviously, but they're not just about rural, but how they work within the cities. And it was interesting to learn that ag societies aren't just about rodeos, but they actually work within daycares. They work within all walks with parks and with recreation, and there's just such an untapped resource, I think, that we have within our own city to work with the Silver Sage Ag Society. So I'm really looking forward to, as we work on our strategic plan to move forward, and some of the things that are going to be happening in the next couple of years there. Tourism is Jamie is just leading that and doing an amazing job, but I wanted to just encourage those that might be listening or online that to subscribe to our tourism email of all the different things that are going on within the city and the county, but also that that businesses that are doing something for our community that's tourism driven can actually be on that email that goes out to the subscriber base. So that's good. And last but not least, Community Futures. We are excited in that Jessica Serdinger is now on the board, and she represents the Medicine Hat College and Brooks campus. And so it's going to be great to have another voice from our area on that committee. So that's all I wanted to mention. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to mention about the Silver Sage. I mean, that's such a big, has such a big economic impact to the area here too, and it's good to be part of that.
Yeah.
There too, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, to the motion on the reports. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Prentice that the administrative report on the Brooks Dual Alberta 55 plus summer games be accepted as information there. Okay, are you leading the way, Randy, or Kelly, or Lisa?
I'll start us off,
Okay.
yes. So through the chair to mayor and council. So yeah, we're just gonna go through an overview of the games, basically from the planning stages right through to evaluation and some of the lessons we learned along the way. So some of the games details, next slide, Bruce, thanks. The games were held August 17th to 20th, 2023. There were about 15 different competitions, everything from 8-ball pool, cycling, pickleball, track and field, horseshoes, cribbage, contract bridge, crafts and photography were among some of those that were held in the city and in the region. Participants arrived Thursday, August 17th. Competitions took place the Friday and Saturday, and then participants went home Sunday. We did have some social events, Friday night street dance, which the weather wasn't super cooperative for. And then we had the Saturday night banquet, which was a huge hit, and Kelly will be talking about that a little bit later on. A number of facilities were used, including the JBS Canada Centre, the Brooks Legion, the Medium, Evergreen Park, Eastbrook Elementary, Evergreen Activity Centre. We had the cycling event out in Patricia, Brooks Golf Club, Brooks Horseshoe Pits, the Brooks Regional Ballpark, Griffin Park School, and Brooks Junior High. The Games Planning Committee organizational structure consisted of a Games chairperson, a Games coordinator, who of course was Kelly, and 8 key coordinators plus a number of subordinate chair positions, and we'll be touching on the organizational chart and structure coming up here. So after submitting the bid for the games in July 2022, the bid committee kind of transformed now into the planning committee for the games. That committee was comprised of city staff, a city councillor, a county councillor, Brooks Region Tourism, and a number of community volunteers. it was decided that a nonprofit society would be formed just to help us access some funding for the games. So the Brooks Newell Summer Games Society was created in December 2022, and that Game Society still exists today, and we're hoping that it can help support future events in the area. The planning committee expanded as volunteers were recruited into coordinator roles, and the games coordinator position was filled in January 2023, and the staff person took on the bulk of planning and managing all aspects of the games. So here's a look at the organizational chart and the structure for the games. So you can see the top there is a games chairperson and games co-chair, and then a number of volunteers below that. Those were all volunteer positions. So a lot of volunteers were required to pull these games off, and in the kind of dashed boxes there, municipal staff supported. We had the games coordinator, which was a hired position for the games, and then the Alberta 55 Plus board, which was the provincial organization that oversees these games, provided some guidance and direction as well.
So to get us started, we obviously needed a little bit of base funding. We presented to each municipality in the Brooks Newell region, and we received $35,000 in municipal funding from both the city and from the County of Newell. So we're very fortunate to receive both cash donations and in-kind sponsorships from local businesses and organizations. And this totaled about $92,000. So either cash that was directly given to us or cash that we saved through in-kind donations, which I think just speaks again to the incredible support of the local businesses and nonprofit organizations that we have in the community, aside from the municipal contributions. To also receive an additional almost $100,000 is just incredible, and obviously very helpful in pulling this games off. After we got our nonprofit status, we were eligible for gaming funds, which we took full advantage of. We brought in $44,400 from both a casino that we were able to get, and then we held a raffle leading up to Father's Day, which again, very helpful because it wasn't something that we necessarily had to ask businesses for sponsorship. We were able to access those gaming funds, which really helped. And then a large bulk of our funding came from the registration from participants. So each participant pays a registration fee, which is given to Alberta 55 Plus and then given to the host community. And then we had a little bit of other revenue sources, such as banquet ticket sales, merchandise sales, which we'll talk about later, the dry camping that we ended up hosting, we'll talk more about that, the tours, and of course liquor sales. On the expense side of things, our largest line item is actually food, which is kind of interesting. The way that these games are structured is that the host community has to provide a meal for every participant and volunteer on both Friday and Saturday during competition. So that works out to over 800 people for us that we had to provide either a banquet lunch or a bagged lunch that was delivered to their site of their participation. So, or their competition. So it required not only a large budget line item, but it was a lot of coordination as well involved in sending a certain amount of meals to the ball diamonds and a certain amount of meals to the bocce ball courts and all across the region, some out to Patricia. Hiring a staff person is obviously a large expense, but you just honestly probably couldn't pull this off without having a dedicated staff person, an absolutely needed position, who not only was the centralized coordinator, but also took on additional responsibilities that we couldn't find volunteers for, such as food coordinator. We did have some facility fees, plus some facility upgrades. We had to pay for greens fees at the Brooks Golf Club, and we needed a little bit of upgrades done to the horseshoe pits. And then we also bought a little bit of equipment, although a lot of that was donated as well. And then another expense, we sold merchandise, but it essentially ended up being a break even, which is fine for us. We were really happy that anybody would wear our logo on it and just raise the profile of the overall region. So any leftover merchandise that we had, we ended up giving away as thank you gifts and for volunteer appreciation. So win-win for us. So this is just a quick overview of the financial revenues and expenses. A more detailed report is part of the game's final report, which we can share with you. But it does show on the plus side that the games ended up with a surplus of funds of $61,378. So that's great. We'll talk a little bit more after about what we should do with that money.
For volunteer recruitment, we had 2 incredible ladies that stepped up to be co-coordinators for the volunteer job title. And they hit the ground running, and they recruited over 200 volunteers for us to run the games. The volunteers filled such roles as scorekeepers, timekeepers, results, merch sales, first aid, food services, bartending, tour guides, photography, beyond, among other things. The volunteers were excellent, friendly folks from our community that represented us all well. Merchandise, this is something new that we decided we wanted to try this year. So after a logo and the branding was created, options for souvenirs were chosen and ordered, which included hoodies in two different colors, t-shirts in 2 different colors, golf shirts, vests, coffee mugs, wine glasses, playing cards, cozies, golf towels, and baseball hats. Through our supplier, participants were able to pre-order and then pick up at the store when they arrived, or they could shop right on site. And the merch room also acted as a place for payments to be accepted, for camping, banquet tickets, tours, and directions. Tours was another fairly new activity that isn't done much in previous games. So we did have 50 people take part in the tours. They were directed more so for the spouses and guests while the participants were competing. Tours that planned included a beer flight tour, grains to glass distillery tour, beach day, dinosaur park, CPR rail or engineer house, downtown shopping tour, among other ones. Some tours, because the participants didn't actually get their schedule until registration, we didn't have enough to fulfill the tour, so they did have to be canceled, but we are hoping that the participants went and did them on their own. And we did get very good feedback from the tour guides and the volunteers, how great they represented our community. For the entertainment, our opening ceremonies were held on Thursday night following the registration. We had words of welcome from our delegates and a cultural performance from Indigenous dancers from the Blackfoot Nation. Since there was no competition, we planned a fabulous street dance and fireworks on Friday, and if we could have bought good weather, it would have been one heck of a party. Unfortunately, the wind and rain showed up and the attendance were very low, but as Lisa did say, it was really good for hoodie sales that night, so there was our win.
It might have been the only time it rained last summer, was when we were trying to have an outdoor street dance.
The participants' banquet was held on Saturday night. It was a buffet dinner, and we did feed 935 people. We had a Beatles cover band selected, and the Beatles theme kind of became the overall theme of the evening. It was an incredible night. The dance floor was full. When the dance floor filled up, they made more dance floors, and everyone had a ball. And then we opted out of having an official closing ceremony and instead did the passing of the torch during the banquet.
So now some of the lessons we learned. Typically, communities would have 2 years to plan these games and have the benefit of being able to attend those games in another community prior to hosting. And we didn't have the opportunity to attend that games, and our timeline was very, very short. So in comparison to other games, we managed to pull it off in a very short timeline, but it would have been really nice to have learned some lessons from other communities. Start recruiting a planning committee as soon as you can. Co-coordinators were really, really beneficial for some of those jobs that were bigger. The volunteer coordinators, medical coordinators, all had 2 people kind of overseeing that as volunteers, and that worked really, really well with a number of positions. Municipal support, so in the form of financial support, facilities, staff, et cetera, is absolutely critical and absolutely essential to being able to host an event like this. Advertising throughout the community is really important, getting them involved in the games, getting them excited about the games, and this included zone qualifiers. So because this games was a qualifier for the Canada Games, people had to compete in their zones to qualify for the provincial games as well. And there was a lot of confusion locally about how Brooks athletes or local athletes could compete in these games, and a lot of misunderstanding because it wasn't as simple as just registering and competing in the games. You actually had to compete in zones, which sometimes required traveling to another community to compete in order to be able to compete here. Setting up places to camp or block off hotels early, because we did have an accommodation shortage. Lisa kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but we did have dry camping set up in the overflow parking lot at the CRA, and I think we had a couple dozen campers out there during that time. So, and then just knowing your target market and planning accordingly, knowing what's an appropriate dinner time, how to get information out there, whether you do that print or online, how are people going to access that information and who's accessing it. So just considerations for different communication.
Okay, so you saw earlier that we did run a profit, I guess you could say, or have a surplus of just over $61,000. The planning committee would like to see something put together as a commemorative or a legacy project. And what they're proposing is to sponsor a sun shelter on the Kinbrook Connection pathway for $15,000. They chose this project specifically because it's a recreational project that is representative of the region, not just the city and not just the county, and it can be used by people of all ages and all abilities, and it will be seen by people that live in the Brooks North region, but also tourists and visitors to the region. So they thought they'd get some good exposure there. And then the remaining funds, it's being proposed that would leave about $46,000. The remaining funds would be held in reserve for a future event. So rather than coming back to the municipal partners and asking for funding to support our next large event that we would host like this, we would just hold that funding in reserve or in a trust and use that for the future event. Because we do have that nonprofit status, we do still have the ability to fundraise leading up to another event and to build that kind of nest egg up. So at our AGM, the society board did have a conversation about possibly doing ongoing fundraising if we get another casino, to certainly work that casino and bring that money in, and possibly hold an annual raffle to slowly build up that fund for regional recreation projects and large scale recreation events. So that's what's being proposed. Technically, because the municipalities were the funders, so we would need a shared agreement essentially from both the county and the city if you're okay with that legacy project and holding that $46,000 in reserve for a future event.
Okay, any questions? Just again, a big compliment to you guys, whatever, and I think you pointed out in here because there was a tight timeline in there, because most people do have 2 years, to get to it. Because of the pandemic, it never went for a couple of years. So you guys put it together, and no doubt it was the highlight of 2023, and it was so much fun talking to people when they came in. I don't think of all the people I talked to, I don't know if there was one negative comment from, anybody. Everybody was just impressed with the community, the greenery of the community, the murals, whatever, the way the games were run, the opening ceremonies were just fabulous, and the closing, that banquet that night was just fabulous too, and it was just so nice to go around the buzz of the community, and I don't know what obviously there's an economic, boost to the community with the hotels and the restaurants and things like that too, but just a compliment to you guys there too, yeah. So as far as the legacy things, I don't have any issues with any of that, and I don't know where we go with that, with those ones. I'm just going to ask you, now I think there was a plan, was it to bid for the 2026 Southern Alberta Summer Games? Yeah.
Yeah, through the chair to Mayor Petrie, yes, that's correct. So we have submitted a letter of intent to bid to the Southern Alberta Recreation Association, and that would be for the 2026 Southern Alberta Summer Games. So we have to put that bid together and bring that forward to council and the county council, and yeah, that's the plan, 2026.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Councilor Wardrop.
I was wondering if you received any feedback from any local businesses or restaurants. So in terms of like lessons learned? Was there anything that, did you have any local businesses or restaurants reach out at all? Were they able to handle?
Through the chair to Councillor Ward, it feels like so long ago that I'm just, I don't know if I'm having a memory lapse or not. And following the event, we were all just kind of like on such a post-event high that because things went so well. I do know that during the one of the tours and activities, we brought a number of people downtown to do shopping, and they did. They got off the buses and they saw the murals and they were popping in and out of shops. From the time that I spent in the merchandise room, I will say that, and Kelly mentioned it, it sort of became like an information hub for people, that people would stop in and talk about tours that they went on or businesses that they'd seen. They'd ask for advice or directions, that sort of thing. And from the participants' side of things, it sounded like there was a lot, that they were certainly shopping quite a bit, and that they had participated in like activities at the brewery and at different handicraft things, not necessarily as part of our organized tours. But I don't remember off the top of my head if we did get any specific feedback from the business community. I don't know. Yeah, it was too long ago, I guess. We've forgotten. Sorry.
Okay, any other ones? Okay, and again, congratulations, a well-done event there too. And I think we'll take, I mean, I think we're sort of in agreement with your legacy stuff, but that would probably also go to joint services too then. I just, yeah, because I think the whole Brooks Newell region contributed to that there too. Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we've got a public hearing here. Let's see, it's 5:08. Call this public hearing to order. This is Land Use Bylaw Amendment Bylaw 2317. Okay, Gavin, okay, there you are. I didn't see you up there, Gavin. Oh, there you are. Okay. Okay, first of all, an explanation of the bylaw there, Gavin.
Yes, through the chair to mayor and council, bylaw 2317 proposes to redesignate land along Sutherland Drive East. This is north of Castles Drive East, from direct control to commercial general, as described in the Northeast Area Structure Plan. As per the requirements of the Municipal Government Act, a public hearing must be held prior to council's decision on the bylaw to rezone land. At the time of writing this report, I had not received any concerns from the citizens, but I did receive a call just asking to clarify the uses contained within the general commercial district. So I did that, and the gentleman was happy to hear what they were, and he had no concerns beyond that. The site context is that this is an undeveloped property, and it was subdivided in November of 2023 in keeping with the area structure plan, which identified the land as suitable for commercial development. The parcel is currently unsubdivided, with water and sewer services approximately 100 meters to the south. In order to determine full infrastructure needs for the site, engineering studies will be required to move any proposed project forward. Legislative and planning context: within the Northeast Area Structure Plan, the highway special policy area does have a combination of two principal land uses, being either commercial or residential. This parcel is better suited to the commercial, as the parcels to the south are designated similarly. The next steps in the approval process is that this evening we have our public hearing, and then we move forward with the requirements of the Northeast Area Structure Plan the second something comes forward. The recommendation this evening is that council complete second and third reading of the bylaw. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Gavin. Okay, any person speaking in favor of the proposed bylaw? I see none. Any person speaking in opposition of the proposed bylaw? I see none. Any final comments there, Gavin?
None.
Okay, I adjourn this hearing at 5:11. Thanks, Gavin. Okay, moved by Councillor Wardrop that February 2024 be hereby proclaimed as Black History Month in the City of Brooks. Amanda.
Through the chair to Mayor and Council, people of African descent have been a part of shaping Canada's heritage and identity since the early 1600s. African people were once enslaved in the territory that is now Canada, and individuals who fought enslavement helped to lay the foundation of Canada's diverse and inclusive society. In December of 1995, the House of Commons officially recognized February as Black History Month in Canada following a motion introduced by the first Black Canadian woman elected to Parliament. In February of 2008, the first Black man appointed to the Senate introduced the motion to recognize contributions of Black Canadians, and February as Black History Month, which is adopted on March 4th, 2008. The adoption of this motion completed Canada's parliamentary position on Black History Month. Black History Month is a time to learn about stories and the many important contributions of Black Canadians to the settlement, growth, and development of Canada, and about the diversity of Black communities in Canada and their importance to the history of this country. To celebrate Black History Month on February 2nd, a social media was posted with a curated list of books that shed light on Black history in North America. In addition, videos will be posted on social media outlets during the month of February, which explores the rich heritage of Black Canadians in Canada as well. Therefore, administration is recommending that February 2024 be formally recognized as Black History Month in the city of Brooks.
Okay, any questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Prentice that February 13th, 2024 be hereby proclaimed as Wear Red Canada Day in the city of Brooks.
Through the chair to Mayor and Council, on November 16th, 2023, Mayor Petrie received a letter from the Canadian Women's Heart Health Centre National Alliance regarding Her Heart Matters, Wear Red Canada. Heart disease is the #1 killer of women worldwide and the leading cause of premature death in women in Canada. Globally, heart diseases affect 1 out of 3 women, yet women everywhere are understudied, underdiagnosed, undertreated, and underaware when it comes to their heart health. Wear Red Canada is celebrated annually across Canada on February 13th to raise awareness about women's heart health. Organized events held across Canada serve as a reminder for everyone, especially women, to be mindful, curious, and proactive in the management of their heart health and wellness. Therefore, the Canadian Women's Heart Health Centre National Alliance respectfully requests that February 13th, 2024 be proclaimed as Wear Red Canada Day in the city of Brooks.
Okay, any questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Jessica that Dwayne Perkins be reappointed to the Brooks and District Recreation and Parks Board for a third 2-year term commencing February 6, 2024 and ending February 5th, 2026. Randy.
Through the chair to Mayor and Council, the Brooks and District Recreation and Parks Board is made up of members of both city and county councils, school board representatives, and city and county citizens at large. The mandates to determine future direction and development of recreation and parks facilities, events, and programs. Dwayne Perkins has completed a second 2-year term as a citizen at large on December 19th, 2023, and he expressed interest in remaining on the board. Therefore, the Brooks and District Recreation and Parks Board would like to follow to City Council the following motion for citizen at large. The motion was made at the January 17th, 2024 meeting. John Nesbitt made a motion to recommend Dwayne Perkins for a third 2-year term on the Brooks and District Recreation and Parks Board for City of Brooks Council. Laura Lukey seconded the motion, and that motion was carried. Therefore, staff recommends that Council reappoint Dwayne Perkins to the Brooks and District Recreation and Parks Board for a third 2-year term commencing February 6th, 2024 and ending February 5th, 2026.
Okay, any questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Idris that Emil Chris Aurelio be reappointed to the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board for a second 2-year term commencing February 8th, 2024 and ending February 7th, 2026. Natasha.
Hi. Through the chair to Mayor and Council, the City of Brooks Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board's mandate is to assist both Council and the City in providing opportunities in arts, culture, and heritage programs, events, and facilities in the City of Brooks. The board consists of 6 citizens at large and 1 city councillor. Emil Chris Aurelio was initially appointed to the board on February 8th, 2022, and her 2-year term on the board ends on February 7th, 2024. During the board meeting held on January 18th, the following motion was made by Rodas Massey to appoint Emil Chris Aurelio for a second term as a citizen-at-large representative on the City of Brooks Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board for City of Brooks Council. John Nesbitt seconded the motion. Therefore, staff is recommending that Emil Chris be reappointed to the Arts, Culture, Heritage Board for a second two-year term, commencing February 8th, 2024, and ending February 7th, 2026.
Okay, any questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Just again, thanks to all those that come forward to volunteer in our boards there too, yeah, so. Moved by Councilor Goodenough that Amy Romans, Bailey Boulay, and Shannon Biette be appointed as Regional Assessment Review Board clerks for a one-year term per the Regional Assessment Review Board Clerk Agreement, and further that the duties performed by each appointed clerk are as established in the matters relating to assessment complaints regulation, and that no additional remuneration is provided as these duties form a part of their individual job descriptions. Shelley.
Thank you, through the chair to mayor and council. So section 456(1) of the Municipal Government Act requires that council appoint a designated officer to act as a clerk of the Assessment Review Board, having jurisdiction in the municipality. Further to that, section 456(2) requires that where an ARB is jointly established, that councils jointly appoint the clerks. So in order to perform the duties of the clerk, there is a requirement to complete training, which is provided by the province of Alberta. And currently there are 2 city staff and 1 county staff member who have completed their training requirements and have the qualifications to perform the required duties. We like to have a pool of trained clerks so that one is always going to be available for any prospective hearing date. So the recommendation is that Amy Romans, Bailey Boulay, and Shannon Biette be appointed as the Regional Assessment Review Board clerks for a one-year term per the Regional Assessment Review Board clerk agreement.
Okay, any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Shelley. Moved by Councillor Woodruff that council accept the 2023 Recreation User Group Grant Report as information. Randy.
Through the chair to mayor and council, in 2021, City Council allocated $30,000 of county annual ICF funding to the Brooks and District Recreation and Parks Board. The funding is provided to recreation user groups in the city for facility enhancements, equipment purchases, or support on capital projects. The board named the funding program the Recreation User Group Grant, or RUG for short. The most recent intake for RUG was February 1st through 28th, 2023. And during that time period, they received 13 applications, and 8 of those applicants received funding as follows. The Brooks Golf Course they were not awarded any funding. The Brooks Curling Association was not awarded any funding. The Brooks Gymnastics Club was awarded $7,048.72. Brooks Community Football was awarded $3,500. Brooks Regional Ballpark Association was awarded $5,396. The Brooks Motocross Club was awarded $5,600. Brooks Lacrosse Association was awarded $4,747. The Brooks Filipino Community Association was not awarded any funding. The Brooks Minor Hockey Association was awarded $6,917. Brooks Bombers Baseball Association was not awarded any funding. Brooks Minor Baseball Association was awarded $7,000. Brooks Special Olympics was awarded $977, and Brooks Filipino Association second application was also not awarded any funding. The total funding requested was $95,685.15. The total amount awarded was $41,185.72. That amount included $30,000 for 2023 plus $11,185.72 that was carried over from 2022. As part of the funding process, user groups are asked to complete a follow-up form to demonstrate the completion of the project and provide any feedback on the process. All user groups that received funding stated the application and follow-up processes were simple and easy, and there were no suggested changes to the process from applicants. As well, the board reviews the process annually, and at the November 2023 meeting, the Brooks and District Recreation and Parks Board made the following changes. The grading matrix was changed to disqualify any application that did not have a need or problem clearly identified, as well as those who proposed a solution, however, did not solve the identified problem in the application. Applicants will now identify a target audience on the application form, either youth under the age of 18 or adults ages 18 and over. And in the event of a tie, the application serving youth will be given priority. These changes will be applied to the review and scoring of the applications for 2024, and the 2024 intake time period for RUG is from February 1st through 28th, 2024. So the recommendation is that City Council accept the 2023 Recreation User Group Grant as information.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Jessica.
So I see Brooks Minor Hockey got one of the larger grant awards for Gear for the Curious, so I guess I'm curious.
Through the chair, or to Councillor Jessica. So that was specifically for goalie equipment and coach equipment. So basically giving kids who are interested in trying out being a goalie without having to invest the thousands of dollars it takes to become a goaltender, they bought equipment so different kids can share and try that out.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Goodenough.
I'm just curious on the kitchen upgrades for the Brooks Regional Ballpark Association. Wouldn't that be considered under the city's care?
Through the chair to Councillor Goodenough. So they purchased additional equipment to what's already there. So they purchased a deep fryer, an additional fridge, and a popcorn maker. So in addition to the city equipment that is in that facility. So
Are we renting that out? Or like, I'm just curious, why wouldn't that go through our own city budgeting process instead of them applying for a grant?
Okay, Alan.
Through the chair to council, Goodenough, they did not request that from the city to go through the budget, so we weren't aware of it ourselves until we read it here in the RUG grant.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Idris?
And I don't know if this would be the right venue. Some of those who didn't get, is it an eligibility question? Is it like why because when I look at it, some of these look similar to some of the ones that got some money.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Idris. So the board funded anything that scored over 45, and there were a couple of applications that did not meet the eligibility criteria, and that would be the Filipino Association. So the eligibility criteria states that it has to be a group whose primary mandate is sport and recreation provision in the community. And the Filipino Association, that's not their primary mandate, it's part of what they do. So the board determined that they were ineligible, so.
Okay, to the motion then, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Prentice that the deadline for registration of subdivision application 2022-0175 be extended 1 year to January 18th of 2025. Gavin.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council, a request was received from the applicant of subdivision application 2022-0-175 for an extension of the subdivision approval. The original application was approved by the MPC with conditions on January 18th of 2023. The property is legally located, legally described as Plan 9512478, Block 3, Lots 1 and 2. Within the northwest of 4/1914 west of the 4th. Civic address is 1140 and 1160 2nd Street West. The Municipal Government Act requires under section 657 that subdivisions are registered within 1 year unless a time extension is granted by council. The applicant is experiencing time delays and is requesting a 1-year time extension. Recommendation is to extend the subdivision until January 18th, 2025.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Goodenough.
Gavin, is it necessary to go 1 year? Could we give them a 6-month extension? Like, why 1 year? If it's just,
1 year is the max. You could go less if that was your choosing. It's just that if they don't get it done, they're gonna come back and
they're
ask for
coming back
another
in?
one.
Okay, no, thank you, I'm just curious on that, thank you.
You're fine with a year then?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Gavin. Okay, moved by Councilor Goodenough that the city of Brooks participate on a regional basis with the municipalities in the Brooks Newell region in applying for funding from the Alberta Indigenous and Municipal Police Transition Grant Program, and that council appoint the County of Newell as the managing partner for this application. Alan.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council, during the January Joint Services Committee meeting, it was proposed to have municipalities seek approval from their respective councils to apply for the Alberta Indigenous and Municipal Police Transition Grant funding. And yes, the county did volunteer to administer this grant, as I believe they were the ones that brought it up, and they may have done so at our joint municipal meeting. The grant amount is up to $30,000 per community, and the objectives include exploring and/or incorporating innovative, promising, or proven models of policing and public safety practices, considering community engagement focused on understanding the underlying causes of crime and victimization, to create public measures and activities dedicated to crime reduction outcomes, and providing the community with perspective of the policing model that directly addresses public safety concerns, measures for the community and its citizens. The study would examine the possibility of implementing a regional police service, considering community background, history, and policing statistics. It will also provide a cost-benefit analysis and insights into appropriate level and mix of policing resources based on the data. Even if the study determines that a regional services policing model is not feasible, the information gathered would be still very valuable, especially to the city of Brooks. We're considering what our optimal mix should be anyways with municipal enforcement and RCMP. So this would help in that. And I think it's really interesting that we would have a further understanding of the underlying causes of crime and victimization. So I think either way it would be very valuable for the city, and the recommendation is that we participate on a regional basis with the municipalities in the Brooks Newell region in applying for the funding, and that the council appoint the County of Newell as the managing partner for this application.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Woodruff. Okay, go ahead, Woodruff, yeah.
I don't believe that we should go forward in applying for this grant, and there are a few different reasons for that. I think the purpose and the objective of the grant is laid out in their grant criteria, and it does specifically state that it is for the viability, to find the viability of a standalone police service or regional equivalent. When the provincial government brought this out in, I believe it was 2021, and they had their consultations with the local municipalities, there were a lot of questions, everything from the funding model to just the need for it. There was a lot of polling that came out all the way until most recently last spring in 2023, and the findings are that this isn't a problem that needs to be, there is no problem that needs to be fixed at this point. And the most recent Leger poll, I think it was brought to the RMA, I think, for discussion in April 2023, just last spring. And only 23% of rural Albertans agreed that Alberta should have its own police force. So this isn't something that municipalities are asking for. I think another thing to note too was some other polling that was done around the same time showed that most Albertans 66% wanted to see investment around the wraparound services for our current police services so that they could be better supported and how it could work more efficiently. I'm paraphrasing there, but I think that there are, I guess, more pressing concerns that we could put our money and effort into, along with where it says here in the grant overview and the feasibility study should consider and include the following. Those items, anything that isn't directly related to a transition plan, so the implementation plan, the transition plan, anticipated costs and timelines and those sorts of things, that doesn't, I guess, directly go to that viability of a standalone police service that they're looking for. Those are all the other information we have, and if we did want to have more informed data about the stats or other ways to look at underlying causes of crime and victimization, I think that could be solved by just reaching out to our local RCMP division. And we have been seeing increased communication from them, and it just took a simple meeting. So I do believe that the purpose and objective of this grant does not necessarily align with our needs at this time. And I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Jessica, yeah.
I guess you can certainly question the motives from Edmonton behind this program, but I think it's an opportunity to get some data, and the outcome is not a foregone conclusion. It may come back and say that the RCMP is. I agree, there's a lot of support there for the RCMP. I've been to presentations on both sides of the argument, and the outcome might actually be that the RCMP is the way to go, as opposed to going with a separate or municipal police force. So there's not a foregone conclusion from this study. And I know we've, within the last year, got some good statistical information from the RCMP, and I hope we'll be getting that updated soon. But they're requiring some pretty good information here that would be of value, and especially of value if at some point in the future the RCMP did decide to pull out. So it's a chance for us to cooperate with the county on something that will give us some very good baseline data on our policing situation and potential future of that policing situation.
Okay, good, thank you there. Councillor Idris.
I will not repeat what Councillor Wardrop said, but I'm going to address the idea that it is going to give us data, and it could come back saying that maybe RCMP is the best option. And I actually think this will not happen for two reasons. One, is RCMP involved? RCMP is not involved in this. How can we go ahead and study policing in our community when the people providing policing in our community are not involved? And what
Do we know they're not involved?
But the thing is that no, the thing is that we haven't talked to them. Like, this is starting from a biased place, because if I want to do something around collecting more data in this, maybe I will talk to the RCMP and tell them, would you think it's a good idea to study research policing in the community and talk to them about this? So there is a bias already earlier in this. In terms of the data itself, I actually agree. There is a lot of data that we can collect that will be very beneficial when it comes to policing and safety and, you know, crimes and all of the things that are in the objectives of this. But if we are talking about getting out of policing from the RCMP, they are not getting out of it till 2030 something. I think 32, 35, around there. So still another 8 years or so. So any data we collect today really is not going to help us in 8 years from now, because it's going to be out of date, whether it is financial or whether it is community demographics or anything like that. But also, I lost my, but basically, yes, there is a lot of data that we can learn, but because of the bias involved in this grant from the beginning, I think we will not get the data that we really need.
Just to respond to your thing about the bias, I think it would be, no doubt, in every report, sometimes there's always a bias on whoever does the consulting and the report, but it's our job as counselors to kind of see through that bias there. But I agree. I think there's a lot of data that should come out of this that might not be until 2032 or 2035, whenever the date is, but it might help us down the road. It might help us next year or the year after that. It doesn't cost the city any money, for this grant, but I think, and then it might even, to your response there, Councillor Woodruff, wraparound services, maybe it recommends that too. We don't know. And we don't know where this is going to go, on it. But I'm in favor of just to find out a little bit more about it. It's not going to cost us anything, and it might help as Alan said, even as we sometimes weigh between more community police officers and RCMP, maybe that might help us answer that question there too. Okay, Councillor Jessica, then Councillor Goodenough there, yeah.
And I guess to the point you just finished with there, suppose the RCMP may not help us be of as much value in the far future, but it may come back. We were talking about communication with the RCMP, and there may be some stuff in there that we can take back to the RCMP to improve that relationship in the meantime.
Okay, Councillor Goodenough?
Yeah, I think this grant is a good step. This is initiated by the county. They're willing to work with us. They understand rural crime better than we will. And I think that if their council is interested in this, it's definitely worth the conversation of looking down. I'm curious to see future down the road. I don't think there will be a bias, but I think that there will be what's gone on in Grand Prairie with their transition. They applied for this grant, a larger city. And so to see the transition in their policing. And I guess we will have to wait and see, like Councillor Dries said, 2032, 2020, or 2035, if the federal government stays in provincial or in policing. So I think this is a good step because we have to look forward to down the road. It's not about just today or the next year or next year. We're making decisions that will affect us down the road. So this will be a good study. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Wardrop.
Just going back to the idea of bias and how valuable the information can possibly be for us if the study is biased. Like this transition grant, this study, the purpose is to transition communities to like away from the RCMP. So if the purpose of the study is to do that, and it's essentially stated here, it's not going to give us any answer except for you should transition away from the RCMP. So I do disagree that I think it's very, very likely that it is already a foregone conclusion what the findings of this of the study would likely be. And I do say that also just given the experience of going to those community outreach meetings, there were many, many unanswered questions, and there were a lot of items that were just not addressed, really concerning things about the funding model. If we do look at Grand Prairie, I think their cost model has already been shifting quite a bit. I can't speak to that in detail, but I think that if I think that we should take a step back, watch Grand Prairie, talk to our local RCMP, ask those questions about this information that I think is valuable as well. But I don't see a lot of value in getting money to fund a study that has already explicitly said that we're studying this to transition away from RCMP when that's not really what we're looking for at this point in time.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah. Okay. To the motion then. All those in favor? Those against? So it passes.
No,
What's that? No, Bill, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2. Yeah. Okay, moved by Councilor Jessica that the urban forestry management plan update be accepted as information. I felt.
Through the chair to mayor and council. In October 2016, staff created and presented to council an urban forest management plan. The plan was developed to protect and conserve city trees, manage the removal, replacement, and maintenance of city trees, and to plan for a sustainable and healthy future for urban forests. The purpose of this report is to provide an update on how the plan is progressing in regards to the short-term and long-term actions: stump removal, tree pruning, tree removal, tree planting, protection, conservation, outreach and education and funding. Short-term, maintain the city's tree inventory database. City staff has looked into different types of software to fit into the City of Brooks Urban Forest Management Plan, but has not yet been able to find one that is practical for Brooks and affordable. Establish best practices for the selection of tree and plant varieties to be planted on city property, and specifically to eliminate the use of invasive species. Best practices are used to look at the type of trees, shrubs, perennial plants to go into specific areas. Information is gained from resources such as nurseries, other communities, past International Society of Arborists, and Dutch elm disease conferences. Information gathered from these resources are the type of trees that are working and the type of trees that are susceptible to certain diseases and or insects. Information from the internet is also used. Park supervisor utilizes education and experience to take the information gathered and decide the best varieties of plants and trees for the city. Annual monitoring to see how the plan is working and update is necessary. Each spring, park staff evaluate trees and shrubs that are 5 years and under for any winter kill or damage. Most trees and shrubs have established themselves within 5 years. Older trees can be susceptible to insects and diseases, especially if they have storm or winter damage. The park supervisor and foreman are always looking for any type of changes in trees, such as yellowing of leaves or needles dying from the top down, dead branches, or any other signs that are not normal to the type of tree. Long term, develop a comprehensive, coordinated set of procedures for all tree maintenance and activities: planting, watering, staking, fertilizing, pruning, and tree removal. Procedures have not been put in a written form as of yet. Establish a tree reserve fund to be used for the procurement and planting of trees from a dedicated annual budget. A specific budget for tree purchase and planting has not been established. The budget for tree maintenance contracted services is $60,780. A portion of this money is being used to buy trees for replacements, and the beautification program includes replacing the tower poplars along Castles Road and adding trees on both sides of the pathway that has been extended to the corner of Dukas Island and Castles Road. Also, 64 trees were planted along the new pathway at Pleasant Park. Continue efforts to encourage and support community-based initiatives to plant trees. The city worked together with Eco Brooks and the 4-H Club to landscape the area under the mural at the CCC building. Eco Brooks provided the funds and the 4-H Club provided the kid power. The city is continually working with the Rotary Club to plan different areas for improvement, whether it is planting benches or tables. The city will continue to work with any club by suggestions, ideas, or assisting to find areas to improve. The city continues to work together with communities in bloom to increase the growth of the commemorative forest by planting anywhere from 20 to 30 trees a year in the forest. The city continues to work with the above groups and other clubs. The city is always looking for more opportunities to work with organizations and individuals to enhance the city's urban forest. Stump removal. From 2018 and including 2022, 151 stumps have been ground out. Wintertime is usually the time of year when we grind out the stumps. Tree pruning. The tree pruning has been divided into 4 zones. Now in 2023, all 4 zones are being pruned within 1 year, which was our goal when we created the Urban Forest Management Plan. Tree removal. From 2018 and including 2023, 215 trees have been removed. Tree planting. From 2018, including 2023, 891 trees, 440 shrubs have been planted. Our goal from the beginning was for every one tree we take out, 2 are replaced. We're 4 trees per 1 tree taken out. Protection conservation. The city each year works with the Dutch Elm Disease Society to prevent the spread of Dutch elm disease, as well as other insects and diseases that will harm or kill trees. Protection and conservation is always done mainly through trapping and monitoring. Urban forest conferences are attended where insect and disease specialists from Canada and the U.S. to speak. Outreach education. The city identifies any pest that affects the health of a tree through social media, local newspapers, and city workshop. Create public awareness. The city is continuously consulting with government organizations, attending seminars, and communicating with nurseries and other municipalities. The park supervisor took a train-the-trainer course in chainsaw safety and technique and has trained and certified 6 parks and public works employees. And he's going to train another 5 this year. Funding sources. TD Bank supplied us with native shrubs and manpower to plant around Lake Stafford and Meadow Lake, and we supplied them with tools and 2 employees to help plant. Canadian Tire donated $1,500 worth of plants for the creation of the edible garden, Eagle Brooks 4-H Club, and Choosewell donated time and money also in this project. Recommendation. The staff recommends this report to be accepted as information. Respectfully submitted.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Jessica.
Well, not really a question. It's quite an impressive document, and it really came in handy when Communities in Bloom did the judging here last year. I was quite pleasantly surprised that it was available. You talk about a budget for new tree planting rather than trying to work it out through donations and things. Is that something that will be pursued in the future?
Well, with the $60,000 that we have, with the pruning and that, now what we do all 4 zones in 1 year, we've saved money to, from that $60,000 that we can use from that $60,000 for planting trees. But we're always looking too for, we get for different grants and that. I apply. Well, I got Amy on my side. She applies. She's awesome in that, and we've been turned down a couple of times.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Prentice?
Yeah, along Second Avenue, where them boulevards were taken out, there's no trees been planted in the yards. Was there any takers, or how did that?
Well, we did, same as we did with First Avenue. What we did, we put it out on social media and that, that we'll plant 2, anybody that missing trees, not on their property, but on what we took, but we'll plant 2 trees to every one that was in front of their place. But they have to look out, we'll plant them on their land, and they have to look after the trees.
Was there any takers on that?
No, we haven't heard anything, no.
None at all?
None at all.
That's
No.
the sad part, I guess, of losing them.
Well, First Avenue, First Avenue, I think we planted 4 to 6 trees. I think it was 4 we only got from First Avenue. So.
Is it worth it for us to take the initiative to try to encourage them to plant some and get some trees back up again?
How do you?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a little tough to do. Yeah, it'd be
It
kind
did
of,
make a good difference on the street width, though. It's really helped. But, I was just wondering if there didn't seem like there's any takers.
yeah. Any other questions, Councillor Jessica?
So this was going to come up, I guess, on the 20th anyway, but since this has started on 2nd, wasn't the layout modified a little bit so that there would be room for planting something along on the boulevards? So like originally the sidewalks were going to be in one, either right against the curb, and are there not some strips alongside now where there could be trees that are still on public land?
There's not enough room in there. The thing is, also on the urban forest management plan, I put down like that, I think it was 12 feet, if I'm correct, that a boulevard should be at least 12 feet to be able to plant a tree of any size. And the bigger the tree should have more room, or it's what you're going to do, have the lifting of the curbs, you can have the lifting of the asphalt and everything else. So,
Okay. Any other questions? And the winter pruning is going all right there? You're up to speed on that now?
What's that?
The winter pruning?
Oh, yeah. We do contract because Entire Tree Service has is an ISA certified arborist, and there's actually, that I know, there's only him and myself in this town. So he does our boulevard trees, And my park staff, when we have the time,
Yeah.
we do the parks, the trees in the parks and that, so.
Yeah, I think that certainly helps. I know, especially in the summertime, because we do get some wicked storms, and it certainly helps reduce the amount of fallen branches there. I mean, it's unavoidable in this country here. Trees weren't meant for this country here. We do have a magnificent urban forest here. It's just amazing, actually.
Well, with the pruning too,
Yeah.
I've noticed myself quite a bit, that less branches are being fallen.
Yeah.
Are falling down, and
Yeah.
it's looking awesome, I think, anyways.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks, Phil. Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Phil. Moved by Councillor Idris that bylaw number 2317 be read second time. Is that, okay. Although, yeah, we just go to that one, right?
You can, yeah, that was what we did with the public hearing.
Yeah, with the public hearing. Okay, all those in favor? Carried, okay. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that bylaw number 2317 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 1412 being the land use bylaw be read a third time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Goodenough that bylaw number 2403 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 1412 being the land use bylaw be introduced and read a first time. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Idris that a public hearing be held on February 20th, 2024 at 5 p.m. to gather public input regarding bylaw number 2403. Is that, which one is that here now?
This is the one that was residential high density.
Okay. Are you commenting on this one now, Gavin? Did I do, yeah.
You can ask for his, you don't debate it, but you can certainly ask
Oh,
for his clarification.
Yeah, if you can just give a clarification on that one here, at this point here, yeah, on what this is about here, so.
Yeah, through the chair to mayor and council, this is bylaw 2403, proposes to redesignate land at 77 Upland Boulevard West from single detached residential to high density residential. And as per the requirements of the Municipal Government Act, you must have a public hearing prior to consideration of this bylaw. In the background, you notice that this is part of the area structure plan for the Northwest Area Structure Plan. So that's part of the consideration that will be coming forward for the public hearing, and certainly something that you should look at closely as you consider this. The recommendation of my report is to move first reading and set the public hearing date.
Can I ask at this point, when they go to high density, because most of those are single-family dwelling units over there, and that's a pretty small lot, it'd be under 60 feet, I believe. Do you know what they're planning on building?
Like most places in town, it is being considered for a fourplex. We've had some tough times fitting the parking in at times, but that certainly should be something that gets discussed at the public hearing.
Yeah, okay. Good. Okay, that explains it then. Okay. To the motion then, all those in favor? Oh, carried, okay. Okay, moved by Councillor Jessica that bylaw number 2404 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 2306 being a bylaw to provide for the establishment of the Environmental Advisory Committee of the City of Brooks be introduced and read a first time. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Prentice that bylaw number 2404 be read a second time. Yeah, what's that? Yeah. Oh, Amy there, okay, yeah, go ahead, Amy.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council, I will read one memo for the next four bylaws.
Yeah.
So administration recently presented a proposed amendment to the Eco Brooks bylaw that would change the youth member age range. During that discussion at the council committee meeting, it was suggested that all city bylaws that allow for a youth member be changed to reflect the same age for youth members, which was being proposed as 14 to 18. The boards that are affected are the Environmental Advisory Committee, Safe Communities Committee, Recreation and Parks Board, and Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board. And additionally, a subsection is being added or amended to the bylaw to state that seconders are not required for motions, which is in line with council's procedural bylaw. Therefore, administration is recommending that bylaws 2404, 2405, 2406, and 2407 all receive 3 readings and be adopted.
Okay, any questions? Okay, to the motion here, all those in favor, carried. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that bylaw number 2404 be given 3 readings at this meeting, has to be carried unanimously. All those in favor, carried. Moved by Councillor Idris that bylaw number 2404 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 2306 being a bylaw to provide for the establishment of the Environmental Advisory Committee of the City of Brooks be read a 3rd time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried.
So technically the motion will have the 4 bylaws.
Yeah.
Because, look.
I think we have to go through each one, yeah,
Oh, we have to go through
and
each
that's
one.
what we'll do, yeah, we'll go through every one, yeah. Moved by Councillor Jessica that bylaw number 2405 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 2202 being a bylaw to provide for the establishment of a Safe Communities Committee be introduced and read a 1st time. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Prentice that bylaw number 2405 be read a 2nd time. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that bylaw number 2405 be given 3 readings at this meeting, has to be carried unanimously. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Goodenough that bylaw number 2405 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 2202 being a bylaw to provide for the establishment of a Safe Communities Committee be read a 3rd time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Idris that bylaw number 2406 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 2207 being a bylaw to establish an Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board be introduced and read a 1st time. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Jessica that bylaw number 2406 be read a 2nd time. All those in favor? Moved by Councillor Prentice that bylaw number 2406 be given 3 readings at this meeting, has to be carried unanimously. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that bylaw number 2406 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 2207 being a bylaw to establish an Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board be read a 3rd time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Prentice that bylaw number 2407 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 2204 being a bylaw to establish a Recreation and Parks Board be introduced and read a 1st time. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Goodenough that bylaw number 2407 be read a 2nd time. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Idris that bylaw number 2407 be given 3 readings at this meeting, has to be carried unanimously. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Goodenough that bylaw number 2407 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 2204 being a bylaw to establish a Recreation and Parks Board be read a 3rd time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Prentice that bylaw number 2408 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to provide for short-term borrowing deemed necessary for the purpose of financing the operating expenditures of the municipality be introduced and read a 1st time. Shelley.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mayor and Council. So the purpose of bylaw 2408 is to authorize the city to borrow up to $2 million in 2024 for operating expenditures. This is an annual bylaw. So if it was required, these funds would bridge that gap between the beginning of the year and when property tax revenues are received. The city has not made use of this borrowing in recent years, but it's a good practice to adopt the bylaw annually should the need arise. Therefore, the recommendation is that bylaw 2408 be given 3 readings and be adopted by council.
Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that bylaw number 2408 be read a second time. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Prentice that bylaw number 2408 be given 3 readings at this meeting, has to be carried unanimously. All those in favor? Carried. And moved by Councillor Idris that bylaw number 2408 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to provide for short-term borrowing deemed necessary for the purpose of financing the operating expenditures of the municipality be read a third time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor. Yeah, I don't think Sandra's here, whatever.
She had to go to another.
Yeah, she had to go to another meeting, yeah, okay. Moved by Councillor Jessica that council close the meeting to the public for agenda item 11A, personnel as per section 17 FOIP at 6:02 PM. All those in favor? Carried. Yeah.